introduce Mrs. Sunita. Ma'am, thank you for your brief detail about you. So I'm reading it from it. Mrs. Sunita, she armed with post-graduation in computer education, and she has started her career with the NIIT in the year 1991. And I'm very proud, like she is one among the people who have set a platform for us, like a female working after kids. And so she's also settled with her family, and she took a break to take care of her family. Then slowly she has begun with a freelancing engagement in the year 2000 as an instructional designer for computer courseware. We all know content is the king of digital presence, and here we have the queen. She is behind the contents of menopod.org, madrasi.info, cometoindia.org, targetwomen.com. She has written contents on beauty care, women health, and medical information, parenting, traveling, and many more. Her 20 years of journey from fourth art to greed. As an instructional designer to a content developer, all these made her possible. She was taking care of her family also. And she is the best person to talk about work-life balance. இதுல என்னவா இருக்கு பொண்ணுங்களை விட வேற யாரு work-life balance பத்தி பேசிட்டு இருக்காங்க. So, ma'am, we welcome you here. Thank you so much for we are expecting more from you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, and welcome to everybody from our team. I am not speaking or having this presentation from a position of authority. This is something that all of us are going through. My topic for today is work-life tips in COVID times. I just take a minute now to just sit back and think of what life was for us just 6 months back. The mornings when we woke up was a rush hours when we would get ready to go to work. Kids would be getting ready to go to school. People would be going for their morning walks. The hustle and bustle of the city would have started. And then came the commute to work, bumper to bumper traffic. Once we reached work, we were involved the whole day. There were office meetings, presentations, lunch hour, the quick coffee break with our colleagues, and so on. In just a matter of months, the whole situation seems to have turned totally on its head. We find that all of us are now literally firewalled. Countries have closed their borders. In the country, different states have imposed restrictions. Traveling across districts are difficult. All of us individually in our gated communities or buildings have restricted entry for people. In fact, it's come to a stage where all of us are literally firewalled in our own houses. And this is something that is unexpected. So what I'm going to go through in this session, very briefly, I'll just put it point wise. I'm just going to look at what are the general effects the COVID has had on us. How has it affected the way we work? How has it affected small entrepreneurs like us? Which also brings me to the next topic, which is work from home and how to best tackle it. I'm going to take up one example of something called the bridge to nowhere, which could become the motto for all of us to succeed in the times to come, which is trying to adapt to different situations. We'll take a look into the post-COVID world. What are the kind of challenges it may bring for us? How policymakers can help us? And finally, all of us can, once the presentation is done, it would be a time for all of us to discuss, see how we are coping. Maybe it could throw light for others, and I'm sure all of us could learn out of the whole experience. So I'm starting with the first screen, which is COVID pandemic, the general effects. We find that life has slowed down to a crawl for all of us. We are confined within the four walls of our home. Work from home has induced a sense of loneliness and isolation. There is social distancing and self-isolation norms. Uncertainty about the future is looming for all of us. We are all becoming increasingly tech dependent. Technology is now playing a very big role in the way we work, in the way we are entertained, in the way education is taking place, in the way our fitness takes place. It has now pervaded nearly all aspects of our life. Home and work lines and work lives have become totally blurred. At home, we find digital classes are the norm. And as a result, parents have to become more flexible about the kind of screen times they are allowing their children. Let us look at how it has affected the way we work. Major work trends have been reset. These trends have been reset either due to governmental regulation about the timings. Say, for example, a small grocery store has had to reset the timings that he has got to function in. Sometimes now we have thermal temperature checking, constant sanitization of hands. All this has to be introduced in the work trend, into the workspace. Besides which, certain work trends itself have had to change. Many businesses have had to move online. Some have been temporarily closed. Some unfortunately may close permanently. Now the next way it has affected us is most employees are virtually clocking in and clocking out. Employees now who are working remotely have to collaborate with their teams digitally. So what was once a team meeting across a table is now become Zoom calls, and we have to collaborate with each other through the platforms that are available, through digital storage media that are available. And as a result, we would have to become increasingly more dependent on technology. Another change we will notice is many organizations might replace full-time employees with contract employees. It may be a situation of part-time work and part-time pay kind of situation. Another observation is that supply chains in almost all businesses have been disrupted. If, for example, you're looking at export and import, they have been largely disrupted because of the bans that have been placed for international movement of people and goods. If you look at even a small vegetable shop, they have been affected because of the supply chain now becoming smaller. It's become more local. So you will find your vegetable shop is having more of local produce which is coming from the region in which we are living rather than the exotic fruits and vegetables we would get from all over the world. Some of the changes which we are seeing are short term and over time may get back to the way in which they were being conducted. Some of the effects will be long term. Another change which we are noticing is most businesses are moving online. Most brick and mortar businesses would have an online presence, but that was not the main way in which they were selling. But now the online presence is where all your business is going to happen. How are small entrepreneurs affected? There's a paradigm shift in the business model. Like I just mentioned, some are temporarily closed, some are running on reduced lines. For example, restaurants have been closed. A small person running a cafe is not able to run it anymore. Maybe beauty salons have been closed. Some activities are running on reduced lines. Say, for example, some are running on limited, offices must run on just 50% of their staff and so on. There is a trouble in accessing traditional funding. Short-term liquidity needs of small entrepreneurs are facing the problem because today the cash crunch is a situation that most entrepreneurs will be going through. On the same lines, labor supply is also a major source of concern. We've seen how the migrant labor movement that happened in India is going to affect businesses conducted all over, especially in the urban cities. Even within a state, you will have some of the people who have gone back to their native places unable to come because of restricted transport between districts. We will also now need to reconsider office facilities. Is it worth maintaining a big office, paying that amount of rent, electricity, and associate facilities when most of us are working from home? And finally, we have to also see what is going to be our relevance of our business post-COVID. Which brings me to the one situation that all of us are finding ourselves from, which is work from home. Now, work from home has always been made out to be the best thing that has the best way in which all of us could function. But I'm not sure all of us would feel the same way because unless you are disciplined and plan your day, work from home can also turn out to be a very stressful thing to manage. Some of the tips I have just outlined for work from home people is to create your own workspace so that you have a space which you have your resources around you and such that you can concentrate on your work for a long period of time. Ensure that your Wi-Fi connectivity is good there. Make it a semi-permanent, even if it's a small area of your house. Make it a semi-permanent area where you can take your Zoom calls, where all your work-related resources are within quick access. It may sound nice, but it is not exactly very productive to be working out of a laptop on your sofa for hours on end. You may only just end up with a pain in your neck. Another important activity that all of us will need to follow is stick to a work schedule. This is where I think many a time work from home becomes a challenge, because we find ourselves having our workplace within our homes. Earlier, what happened was we would get ready from home, travel to work. That travel time and period helped us mentally shift into a work schedule, and helped us, that physical distance also helped us move out of from the work, from the home mode into the work mode. Now, in a minute's time, you are moving from your home to your office. So ensure that you have your day planned out. Only then can you make productive use of the time you have in front of you. Stick to that work schedule. Try to familiarize yourself with the different tools and technologies that are very important for carrying on work today. Learn to use data storage, learn to use team collaboration platforms. Basically, be flexible with technology, because we are going to be technology dependent for a long time more to come. I've just quickly just mentioned a few video conferencing tools that we are familiar with, but just to indicate what are the work from home tools we may need to use, be it Skype or Slack video calls, WhatsApp calls, Zoom calls, GoToMeetings, Google Hangouts. Then I've also, after this, looked at document storage, because this is also going to be a very important aspect henceforth, till we are all working out of home. A local place or a centralized place where we store documents, files, where each of us can work on it and save it back, and can be synced across devices. I think our team itself is another wonderful example I can take here of how we are using all these technologies and all these associate tools and putting it to good use. Now here I'm to look at how we go moving forward. I've taken an example of what they call as the bridge to nowhere. Now, some of you might have seen this on social media, but I'm taking the liberty of sharing this because I somehow found this to be extremely relevant and very thought-provoking. This was actually shared by a leadership coach called Prakash Iyer. So to just encapsulate this story, this was about the bridge on the river Choluteca in the Honduras in South America. Now, this is an area highly prone to storms and hurricanes, and they were looking for a very efficient, very robust bridge on this river. So in 1996, they awarded this contract to a Japanese company, and in 2 years, an extremely strong state-of-the-art technology kind of bridge was very robust bridge was built over the river Choluteca. The same year, they had what was called Hurricane Mitch. Hurricane Mitch brought with it an unprecedented event. In a span of 4 days, it brought 75 inches of rainfall. That means 6 months of typical average rainfall happened within 4 days. The resultant the mess was flooding all around. All the places around, towns around were flooded. All the other bridges on River Choluteca were washed away. But this efficient, well-built bridge stood the test of time. And after the calamity was over, what was it that came out of here? As you will see the picture, what actually happened was the roads leading to the bridge and away from the bridge got totally washed away. Interestingly, another thing that happened was, because of the flooding, a new channel of the river got formed, and the river no longer flowed under the bridge. It flew near the bridge. As a result, look at what has happened today. This excellent piece of engineering marvel is not serving a purpose at all. it has now become a bridge to nowhere. Now, why I brought this example is what is this lesson that we can learn from this? Is that the world today is changing in ways that we have never imagined before. This Choluteca bridge is actually somewhat like a metaphor for the way our lives might change. When we go on focusing only on building the most efficient way of solving a problem, we may sometimes not realize the problem itself has changed. So it is very essential today. The mantra for us going ahead is going to be adapt to change. Those businesses which are going to be quickly able to change and adapt themselves to new circumstances are going to be the ones who are going to be successful. So now we'll take a look at what could be the situation in the post-COVID world. We are definitely going to be facing new challenges on many fronts once the effect of the pandemic has come down. One is that globalization might no longer be the norm. We may find that we are all increasingly going to be in smaller circles of operation because there might be more economic nationalization that might happen across the world. Our country also, with its Atmanirbhar policy, may be now looking in terms of making use of its own resources, its own people to start building the economy. We may be faced with new dangers and new threats. There might be likelihoods of other virus strains that may come. We're seeing a lot of climatic changes that are happening, terrible flooding happening in different parts of the world. Cybercrime also is something that might be on the increase. With a lot of work from home going on, it is an area where cybercrime hackers have been looking at new ways in which data and other information can be tampered into. Another change we are going to see is thermal imaging might become more commonplace at public places, airports, and railway stations. Till maybe a decade or so back, we never thought of security checks at airports and so on. That now has become the norm for us. In much the same way, thermal imaging, that is not just your temperature, there might be different ways of checking your health status, and that might become an important determinant for your travel, which I am coming to the next point, which is like a health visa. Increasingly, our health records and our health scores might be an important factor going forward. Like for example, your Atmanirbhar app is, no, I'm sorry, the Arogya Setu app is something that is required for travel today. It's one of the apps which is being used for contact tracing. For quite some time in the near future, we may be seeing a situation where our health records will be very important for us to move from one place to another. When talking about movement, I come to the next point. Independent modes of transport will now be preferred over mass transport for some time to come. Because of the fear of contracting the virus and being in a crowded place with many other people, most people would prefer to take their own forms of transport or maybe even walk to their workplace rather than be either in a train, in a metro, and even maybe ride sharing through Uber apps and so on may not find takers in the short term. So mass transport might be avoided for some time to come. Now this is totally in contrast to what happened and what was our the mantra few months back. We were looking at reducing carbon footprint and looking in terms of most people taking to mass transport systems. Now we are going to look at another situation where in fact independent modes of transport will be preferred. When the skies start opening up soon, we may have a situation where fewer flights will be traveling in the medium term. People will be very wary of traveling and being in enclosed spaces with people for a long time. It will also, because of the recessionary trend that is likely to happen, there will be lesser money to spend on international and flight travels. And corporate travel, people might resort more to video conferencing rather than opt in for flights to the extent they were done pre-COVID. Another major change we will notice is supply chains will be shorter, they will be more resilient and probably more local. So in all aspects of our working, we may find that we may function in smaller chains of operation. Shopping habits might change. So, for example, retail business was as it is facing some crisis by the end of last year. We may find that consumerism may come down. There may be a small rise in some amount of buying once the COVID scare comes down, because there might be a lot of sales and offers that retail outlets might offer. But on the whole, consumerism and the need to flaunt may come down. People may shop more out of need than out of consumerism. And responsive and flexible organizations are the ones who are likely to be more successful, because we will need to be nimble in the way we react to the problems which are coming. And the faster and better you can adapt to them, the more likelihood of your being successful. On the work front, the variable role, variable pay norm might set in. Many people might be working as contract employees and might be working on a part-time basis for organizations. If you look at the student community, the disruption has been enormous. From little children to those taking maybe even postgraduate and further courses have all now stuck to the online learning medium. And this rhythm and routine is broken, the ripple effect may take quite some time to be restored, because even a survey done on our national network showed that many parents are still very scared of sending their children to schools. What will be the challenges for organizations? Monitoring employee performance and effectiveness when they are working from home is not going to be as easy as it was in a situation where they would come to their offices as such. Organizations will need to rethink the way they are looking at employee performance. Many a time you may need to repurpose your existing solutions. So I have heard or I have read of situations where many hotels are not having their restaurants running. But how one way of repurposing the staff and the facilities they have is they have started providing chopped vegetables. They are making pre-made gravies and selling these options. So what existing solution you have may need to be repurposed based on the kind of market and demand that is there. Similarly, existing knowledge and skills that people have may need to be redesigned or repurposed based on the new challenge coming up in front of us. If you look at performance, goal setting, employee evaluation, since work from home is the norm in most, especially in software companies, they would have to look at how they're going to engage with the employees. There has to be clear communication so that employees are not left unsure as to what exactly is the situation. The hours of operation may need to be adjusted accordingly, and the companies may need to look at different ways in which they can engage their employees. For example, they may need to keep smaller offices where maybe staff may come just once or twice a month, meet, and then again be working out of home, and this situation may go on for a much longer time. The benefits that will accrue to the organization by keeping a very small minimal office, they can use that to plow it back into ensuring that employees are better skilled, better tooled with new skills and so on. Maybe they can have online social hours, non-working hours, where people can online have a kind of a relaxation time with their teammates. Benefits of some good teamwork can be directly delivered to the employee. For example, maybe if a certain team has performed well and done their whole operation in the given time, they can be sent maybe coupons for a lunch delivery at home, and in some ways to keep staff motivated and to make them feel that their work, especially in these trying times, was acknowledged, to be able to it was like a virtual pat on the back for them. How can policymakers help us now? In this case, I think the short term financial needs of the existing startups, may need to be augmented with loan guarantees and some amount of lending and some subsidies, and maybe the the organizational needs which are required for starting a small setup can be simplified. Often we have noticed that troubled times are the times when people come up with innovative solutions, and these could come from very small startups and not necessarily from large organizations. So such startups may need to be given some boost, like in terms of a quick turnaround to start their setup, maybe some additional training online, network development, typically like what we are all doing right now, and looking in terms of mentoring potential entrepreneurs who could provide interesting goods and services to all of us, as also promote some amount of employment for people. Now, individually, I'm looking at how has COVID affected each of us. All of us definitely have the fear and worry about our own health, the health of our family, our loved ones, whether they stay with us or they're away. We are worried about our financial situation, about our job or our business. Work from home has and lockdown periods have led to changes in sleep and eating patterns. There is difficulty in sleeping, difficulty in concentration. Many people would have noticed a worsening of their health condition, and there is a fear that this kind of the pandemic may increase mental health conditions in a large section of population, starting from small to the senior citizens. Now, what are ways in which we can look at self-care? Unless we take care of ourselves well, remain strong, well motivated, and positive, we cannot be productive people, nor can we be good support for our family and friends. So, one of the best ways is always stay connected. Today, we may be isolated within the walls of our house, but technology today allows us to be in touch with people anywhere in the world. So I think it is important we not fall into that pit of keeping ourselves lonely and alone, but instead stay connected with our group of family and friends. That whole process would help us keep our mood better elevated and would help us feel positive. Keeping fit is very, very important, more so because now we are getting confined to our house. Maintain a daily fitness schedule for whatever works for you. If you're able to take a walk, good. If you are gyms and all this, your sport activities are definitely out for some more months to come. So instead, maybe sign up for an online class for a yoga session, or look up a YouTube video which you can sort of follow, but try to plan it within your day and see that you follow it very regularly, because after we are out of this lockdown and this whole situation, we need to emerge physically fit as well. Avoid information overload. Do not keep reading about the pandemic. Need to keep abreast about what is happening, but don't allow yourself to be consumed by the news, because it fuels anxiety and it fuels negative feelings. Start having contingency plans for your business or for your job, as to what are the plan A, B, in case something doesn't work. What are the options? Here is where I again come back to the same topic about adapting to change. So here, more so than ever, we will need to be keep an open mind towards how we can change the way we work and change the way we carry on a business. It is important always for us to be grateful for what we have, even though we are all going through such difficult times and such scary times. Also, it is necessary to express gratitude and appreciation, be it to our, especially to the ones whom we work with, whom we don't see on an everyday basis. When we go to office and it's our employees or it is our subordinates in our team, our body language allows us to, make them feel appreciated for what they've done, or and so on. But now, when we're all remotely working from home, sometimes it is possible that we do not express how happy we are, or how glad we are about the work that was done. It is necessary to keep this in mind to make the other person realize that his contribution was worth it. So I end this by on a very positive note, because we say that often recessions and unprecedented times are the times of restructuring. And restructuring, though in the short term will look very scary and will appear as if it is uncomfortable, it will always lead to a stronger and more resilient economy. We may now see the birth of innovative startups or businesses. I'm quoting from what Ratan Tata said in an interview taken a couple of months back on the COVID situation and what he foresees as going to be the way going forward for the Indian economy. He said coronavirus was just like the World War. It's destructive, cities got bombed, manufacturing industries were disabled, but it is this time during which many technologies were developed. For example, if you take this same analogy, World War II was one of the most destructive times of the on the globe, but it led to the development of certain technologies which we are using today, like starting from the building of good highways to international travel, as well as to the birth of ultrasound and many other small medical inventions and discoveries that happened then. Were the ones which paved the way for scientific development in the years to come. So let us keep a very positive frame of mind. Let us remember we need to adapt to change, and let us all emerge out of this stronger and more resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? Please, if you have some questions, you can put it in the chat.